Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my beautiful hot messes. My name is Mistress Lavender, and today I'm reading a new book called Rich AF by Vivian 2. And it says the winning money mindset that will change your life. So I'm starting at part one. You work hard for the money. Let's begin. Page one. Education for this era. Why this book is for you. A while back, I was spending a long weekend in the Hamptons with some friends. A cute little couples getaway. One of those day drinking, sunbathing, very chill of mini vacations. One afternoon, before heading to the beach, we swung by the local CVS to pick up some snacks. And on the way out, my girlfriend stopped dead in her tracks. Oh my God, she said, I have to have this. It was a Monopoly game. Not just any Monopoly game, but a Hamptons themed Monopoly game. Not gonna lie, I definitely rolled my eyes as I took our M&Ms and M's and gummy bears to the self checkout. But Lauren was so excited, and inevitably her enthusiasm rubbed off on me. If my best friend was so excited about this novelty tourist trap of a board game, then who was I to rain on her parade? By the time we got back to the car, Lauren had sold me on game night, and we were fully stoked. We were ready for this game to play this game. We slid back into our seats, heading out the goods, and when Adams, Lauren's boyfriend, asked what we were so amped about, I told him, "Oh, Lauren just bought this cheesy Hamptons Monopoly game for us to play tonight." No response. It was like the summer air had gone chilly all of a sudden. And then from the front seat, Adam turned around, not smiling, super intense, and he said, "You guys do not want to play the Monopoly with me?" Naturally, we were like, why not? Another pause. Because, he said, there's a secret. Most people have never actually read the full instruction brochure for Monopoly, but I have. And when I play the way I know how to play, there's no way I lose. So what's the big secret? I asked. But he just shook his head, wouldn't tell us. Lauren and I brushed off the conversation and headed out to the beach. Later that night, we broke our Hamptons Monopoly. It was corny with little lighthouses and windmills all over, but the wine was flowing and we were fully invested. After we after we each picked our little pieces and divvied up our fake money, we rolled the dice. Adam proceeded to dominate. Personally, I think I'm okay at Monopoly, like above average to actually decent. But I never stood a chance. This was a bloodbath. Tensions ran really high, really fast. Voices were raised. Words were exchanged. Arguments broke out over exorbitant rent. The exorbitant rent. When I don't know a word, I kind of underline it. For the hotel on Shelter Island, the Hamptons version of Boardwalk. Now, if you ever played Monopoly with a competitive friend group, none of this comes as a surprise. It is probably the quickest and most devastating way to push friendships and any relationship really to the brink. But this particularly session was different. And not just because we were playing Hampton's Monopoly instead of the version, it was because of Adam's secret strategy. The secret was basically a weird loophole in the rules that allows you to use money you don't have to buy property. It turns out that if you do read the rule book the whole way through and understand how the lending system works, the rules actually allow you to get leverage with the monopoly bank. Pretty much the same way you get rich in real life, to be honest. Which makes piling up those pink and orange bills go so much faster. Lauren and I did not know that, of course. We laughed about this big secret earlier, but now that we've been absolutely beaten down, we were mad for it. "That's not fair," we said. "You didn't tell us we could do that." Adam shrugged. "You guys had the same rule book as I did. You just chose to not read it." Aside from guilt over almost starting World War III on our fun little couples trip, pour out one of pour out one for our other friends that were innocent bystanders in this messy over tiny fake money. What I take away from this story is the way that Adam was able to win and the rest of us didn't. is basically the same way our financial system works in real life. In theory, we all have access to the same information about money. We all have some version of the rule book. Everyone has a smartphone or a laptop or a library. This isn't downtown Abbey times anymore, when nothing was publicly accessible and only people rich enough to afford daily telegram delivery knew what was up. You can pull up any number of books, articles, website, wikis, whatever, right at your fingertips, all for the low, low cost of $0, and learn everything there is to know about getting rich for real. In theory, anyway. Because no one really does that, right? No one reads the rule book all the way through, not when playing Monopoly and not when managing our actual, authentic, cold, hard US dollars. I'm willing to bet you probably learned to play Monopoly the same way I learned to play Monopoly. You sat down at your first game with someone else who had already played and they talked you through it. It's quicker, it's less boring than squinting at all that tiny type, and it just gets you in the game faster and it makes it more fun. But then there are people like Adam. He'd read the rulebook all the way through. He found the loopholes and technicalities that can make him a winner without cheating and without a ton of effort. Was there anything stopping me and Lauren from reading the entire little pamphlet front to back too? Nope. But did we? Also no. We all had the same information available to us, but only one person really dug in and learned how to take advantage of it. The reality is, just because we all we can all read up on the rules, that doesn't mean that we all have the same access to a good strategy. Some people go through life leveraging the bank, and some of us play Monopoly the traditional way that we learn from our dad or our aunt or our big brother or our babysitter. In other words, just having access to the rules alone is not enough. If you've never played Monopoly before, you'd probably be confused just opening the box. There's a thimble and a Scotty dog in here? Why are all these streets named after states? What is this game even about? You'd have to spend at least 15 minutes reading the pamphlet, and you'd probably forget half of what you read once you start playing and have to go back and check all the time. The game would generally be slow, annoying, and not that fun, let alone easy to win. Whereas if you play with someone who's played before, who has a strategy, they can teach you not only the rules, but which rules matter and how to use them to your advantage. They can walk you through buying the deeds and how you have to build four houses before you can build a hotel, but also advise you on which color properties to snap up first, when to offer other players a trade, and whether or not it's actually worth buying utilities and railroads. Finance theory is most useful when it's actually articulated as actionable service or actionable advice. Instead of reading about things that could happen to you at some point, you're getting step by step information and instructions for what to do right now given your circumstances. You have insight in which informally is crucial and which you can kind of disregard. There's a difference between knowing the rules and having a strategy. And financial strategy is what we really need to be teaching. But guess who learns financial strategy early on? Rich people. And the rest of us? Well, we don't learn about this stuff in school. When was the last time you busted out the Pythagorean theorem, or wrote a 5 paragraph essay, or played dodgeball? It's probably been a long time. And you're probably not going to do any of those things more than a handful of times for the rest of your life. But when was the last time you bought something? When was the last time you paid rent or budgeted for groceries or looked at your student loan debt and thought, WTF, do all these words mean? What do all these words mean and why are there so many zeros? We are not taught how to balance a checkbook or even what balance a checkbook means. We are not taught how to file our taxes. We are not taught how to budget, how to save, how to invest wisely, or even what most of these words and terms mean. Personal finance for far too long has been a big gatekeep secret. If you know, you know, and if you don't, you never will. Every single person reading this book can likely tell me that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but very few of you can confidently define what the stock market is or does. And in my mind, That's a failure of our education system. Good news, it's never too late to learn. First off, it really isn't too late to learn. The best day to get financially literate was yesterday, but the second best day is today. Hopefully you can get that by now since you're already here and into chapter 1. Stick with me, besties. You still have plenty of time to harness the power of time to make you money. Well, we'll get to that. Even if you're in debt or worth negative half a million bucks, even if you're constantly getting slapped with overdraft fees, even if you grew up poor and bullied and ashamed and deep down still feel like that dorky kid in secondhand clothes, better news, it's not your fault. Second off, there's a real there's a very real reason you don't know this stuff. And it is basically beyond your control. We were not taught this in school. I'm going to say that until it sinks in. But why not exactly? If this information is so important to succeeding in life and getting rich AF, and the information is very much out there and not some big old plated secret, then why doesn't our education system make it a priority? Because a lack of basic financial literacy keeps our working class working. Look, I'm not going to try to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I do think a big part of why some of these basic basics of good financial strategy haven't trickled down LOL to middle class and is beyond that to middle class and beyond is because rich people want the rest of us to stay working. There is always a need for people to do these dirty jobs, to pump gas and drive trucks and to earn sub minimum wages bartending and waitressing. Most people aren't stupid. If they know how to make more money to establish a nest egg and a financial cushion, they will. And do you think they'll want to keep their SE $7.25 an hour job once they're no longer living hand to mouth? You think they'll sign up to work the third shift and never see their kids for the 18 years it takes them to grow up? Of course not. People always want the best life their money can buy. Back in the day, people actually inspired to be blue collar professionals because once upon a time, a steady middle class paycheck was enough to build wealth over time. That's not the case. That's no longer the case. And we'll get to why later in this chapter. For now, the point is just that our current system depends on blue collar workers not having the upward mobility, not having the luxury to leave sucky jobs to keep a consistent labor force hungry for whatever work they can get. You can look no further than the COVID-19 pandemic for proof. While white collar corporate